Hey everybody, we are going live with Jenny DePaul from Project Kind. I'm just going to give her a second to hop on here. Obviously a topic that we have been talking about on One Girl Revolution lately is homelessness, because there are so many people in need right now around the country, around the world. But one thing that hasn't been talked about enough is homelessness. So we want to bring on Jenny to talk about what she's doing with Project Kind. You may know her from the podcast. We had her on, it was episode 49. So let's see, hey, letting some people join. I'll wait for Jenny, but yeah, check out her podcast episode, episode 49. One Girl Revolution obviously is on iTunes and Spotify and Stitcher, anywhere you find podcasts. So check it out. But she has such an incredible story, and her family started this amazing organization called Project Kind, and she's been going out every single day during all this COVID craziness. And she's been serving the homeless. So she has such an inspiring story, and I'm excited to have her on just to share a little bit about her work and what she's doing right now and what each and every one of us can do right now, because I think it's so important. So many people are at home, so many people with kids are at home, and even to encourage your kids, your children, to get involved and help other people who are in need right now. So I want to share a little bit about Jenny. So we're just going to give her a second to join. But I hope everybody's doing well. If you have questions, feel free to write in questions for Jenny and Project Kind and everything that she has going on. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, we love One Girl Revolution has a lot of great stories coming up. We have some really cool stories coming up over the next couple weeks. So we're excited to share those, and a lot of things, great things are coming down the pipeline for One Girl. So we're excited to share all of these stories and highlight. A lot of these stories have never been told before. There hasn't been a platform for these women to share their stories. So we're excited to provide that. And thank you so much for listening. Let's see, Jenny's at. Hey, Marie. We'll just give Jenny another second to join. She's doing so much incredible work. If you haven't checked out Project Kind, check it out. Project Kind 123. They're doing so much stuff. She's out every single night. She's a family. She has children. She's out every single night serving the homeless. So she's doing so much great stuff. So I'm excited to have Jenny on. It looks like she just got on. So I'm excited to have this conversation with her. Let's see. Jenny's joining. Hi, Jenny. Hi.
Hi. How are you?
I feel like we're pros at this now, because we did an Instagram live last week. For those of you who didn't join us last week, we did one on Project Kind's Instagram, and now I'm excited to have you on. So thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on. I love you. And yeah, this was much easier this time.
Right? Now I feel like we're pros at it. So we can go Instagram live all the time. But so before you joined, I was talking a little bit about how you were on One Girl Revolution's podcast. So anybody who's watching this right now, it's episode 49. They can find it on iTunes and Spotify and Stitcher, anywhere you find podcasts, and you kind of go into a little bit more detail about your work and what you're doing. And I was telling a little bit about what you're doing right now, because it was so inspiring when I first saw your story, but it's been so inspiring to follow your journey and see, even now during this crazy pandemic that we're going through, this really difficult time in our world, to see you doing so much incredible work. So thank you so much for all you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I loved being on the podcast. You were my first podcast interview.
Wow.
Yeah, and you made it super easy, and it was lovely. So, and we got to meet, and now we are good friends.
Right. Yeah, and that's been such a cool thing. I know we talked about it a little bit on the Instagram live last week on your page, but we met because I came across your story and reached out to you, I think via Instagram.
Yes.
And then it's been really beautiful to see over the past year, I think it's maybe been 6 months or 8 months that we just have stayed in touch and been able to find ways that we can kind of collaborate, and finding ways like this even to share your message. I think it's so important for people to hear about you and to know that you don't have to do big things necessarily, even though you're doing really big things. And anybody who follows you on Instagram, it's the little things that matter. So can you talk, Jenny, for people that are watching, can you tell a little bit about Project Kind? And then I want to hear what you're hearing what you're seeing on the front lines, because you really are. We talk so much about people who are living and working on the front lines, and you truly are in a very special way. So can you talk a little bit about Project Kind?
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, we started Project Kind 7 years ago, and it really was just an outreach that we ran out of our home. It was me and my girls and my husband, and the whole idea was to just find a way to share our time and remind others that they were loved and that they had purpose and that we all have something to share. So really our idea was just to go out and figure out a way to love people. So it was like this really simple thing. And we just started sharing time with people who were in need. And we quickly realized that it's so easy to get stuck in your challenge and you kind of forget, that you're worthy. So, and it was just the simplest way. We would just sit with people, started out just making eye contact, smiling, asking someone's name, and they happened to be experiencing homelessness. And then just really getting to know their stories, sharing a meal with them, like those little things. And we started to quickly see this spark within them where just that feeling of somebody caring about them made them start to remember who they truly were. And the only reason we've been able to have such an impact is because once I started sharing people's stories, people wanted to be a part of their journeys. So it's really that coming together and everybody sharing a piece of what they have, that's where the impact is. It never had to be a huge give from one person. So it really is nothing to do with me. It's just about creating those opportunities for others,
Right. Creating that space. And I think a lot of times people want to do something, but they don't know what to do. And so I think you've created that opportunity, and even sharing a lot of your journey and the work that you're doing, people are able to see that on Instagram and through all these different avenues, that they're able to see, oh, wow, I could actually just make, like, I loved your challenge last week where it was make 10 sandwiches, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Like, that's an easy thing that every single person could do right now. Of course, we want to make sure that the need is there. So I would encourage people to find out from their local homeless shelter, what exactly they need, because I know some places are being very specific about making sure that they only have things that are sealed, granola bars and different things like that. But your work goes to show that you can be doing anything. Every little thing helps.
That's right. And anybody can do it. So for us, we want to create opportunities that, you can be a young person. It could be in your school. It could be with your family, or it could be a corporation, employees coming together. And, in giving, it doesn't have to be monetary. I mean, it could be that's needed also, but some of us don't have money to share. I mean, when we started Project Kind, we had no money, and we still don't, but, you're share your time, share your resources, your knowledge, your treasure. Like, there's so many things you could be sharing, and each one is equally as important. We've gone to, group homes where people are, maybe are there because of a disability or things like that. And we've created ways for them to come together and write kind notes or draw pictures or, and with the sandwich, I always say it's so much more than the sandwich. You make those sandwiches, but there's a journey to that sandwich, and you're the first part of it. You're sitting down, sharing your time, making that sandwich. It's getting to the outreach or getting to the shelter. And then it's creating this opportunity for people to sit down, eat together, encourage one another. Like, there's a journey to it. And we all have the opportunity to be a part of that. We just have to share the kindness and the love. Like, it's so much simpler than people think,
Yeah. it's just seeing people and encountering people, and that's really what you're doing. Sometimes it's the little things, yes, but it's actually loving the person who's right in front of you, and you're
Yeah.
finding so many people, and you're giving people a platform to share their stories too, because anybody who follows you on Instagram, you'll see you talking to different people and saying like, what do you need? Or, trying to outsource even things. Of course,
Mhm.
like the pandemic has changed a lot of things right now, but I know previously if somebody needed money to pay their rent or different things that were going on like that, you were trying to outsource that. And that's another thing that we can all do is like, if you see somebody or somebody, especially right now during the pandemic, like somebody who's lost their job or somebody who's struggling, they don't necessarily have to even be homeless. It's just seeing the
That's
people
right.
around us and figuring out what can we do. Maybe it's making a meal for somebody. Maybe it's having something delivered. I mean, now everything's at our
Mhm.
fingertips where you can use Amazon or Shipt or Uber Eats and have a meal delivered to somebody. You don't even have to leave your house if you're in a place where they're encouraging people to shelter in place.
Right.
But then also going out and encountering people is so important too.
Yeah. So, um, what we found is, so I get calls from all over the country and all over the world of people asking me like, "Hey, can you please share my story? Like, this is my need." And you're right. It's not just people experiencing homelessness. It's people who are living with no electricity, or their children are, they're in a house, but everyone's sleeping on the floor, like they can't afford furniture, Um, and nowadays, you're right, it's so easy to give. There's a million different platforms that you can give on. You can, donate money, you can make a call, you can have things shipped. So it's really just about being intentional, I think, about being open to the possibility of being a part of someone's journey in some way. um, there's no shortage of need, and the reason that I started sharing people's stories was to give them the opportunity to be seen and heard in a way that's true to them, especially when they're experiencing homelessness. So many people have these, thoughts about homelessness, and people start to feel invisible, and they start to just adapt to this surrounding, and they don't have a lot of support. So when I started to offer them the opportunity to share their story, just in speaking it, I saw this light within them, because they were able to express themselves and say, "Hey, this is who I really am, and this is what I really want. I am not homeless. Like, that's not who I am. It's just the moment, the experience I'm in right now." So that's been that really for us was when we really started to see people wanting to partner with us in different ways.
Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, we're all the same in that we all just want to be seen and heard and loved, right? That's what every single human being, that's where we can kind of come together and say, like, at the end of the day, I don't care where you're from. I don't care who you are. I just see you. I see who you are as a person, and I love you for just being you. And I think at the end of the day, that's all we want. We want to be seen and heard and loved.
Yeah, I think we should be loving people in the moment that they're in, with like no expectations. Really, the expectation, I think, is how we deliver love. It's never on the person who we're giving it to. Sometimes we want to share something with somebody, but we want to see the results, So it's like we want to know we want to know the answer to the problem before we take a step forward towards them. But we don't need to know the answer. We can all be a part of the solution regardless, um, because that one small act of kindness is, it eventually it's going to go somewhere. It just not doesn't always have to be instant.
Yeah, I think
Right?
you bring up a really good point too, because so many people, and I think even during this time of the pandemic, so many people are not sure what the answer is to all the needs that are out in the world. And so we're
Mhm.
almost not doing anything. We're kind of looking, we're insulating ourselves. So we're looking internally and just kind of cooping ourselves up in our house instead of looking externally and saying, I don't know all the answers. I don't
Mhm.
know what this looks like over the next couple of weeks, couple of months, couple of years. We don't know what this is all going to turn into.
Right.
But what I do know is that there are people in need, and I'm going to do a couple of little things just to help them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and I have to tell you too, that, so the person who's receiving obviously is going to, there's a benefit to that, right, for them. But the giver, there's a benefit to us too. I mean, there's just a joy that you're going to feel. And I think people don't, the more you experience it, like you're a part of kindness. It's just such a simple thing, and it also takes our focus off of our own challenges. You know, when you're being intentional about thinking, okay, how can I give? What can I share? You can only feel grateful for what you have. You know, it kind of takes the focus of all the things you don't have, you know. So I just think it's good for both the giver and the receiver.
Right.
That makes sense? Like,
Yeah, it does. Well, so tell me about, so you've been going out pretty much every day, and serving those who are in need in New Jersey. Can you talk a little bit, what was outreach like last night? Tell me a little bit about what's going on, what you're seeing firsthand.
yeah. So I try to go out late, very late at night, because for a few reasons, especially now, you know, you can't have a large gathering, and everyone needs to be, you know, certain amount of, you know, feet apart. Um, it's easier to do that in the evening when people are already in their spots, comfortable, and then I can just go up to them one at a time and navigate all of that. So that's one of my reasons. But what I'm seeing now is more stress and fear from them than I've seen before. Because, you know, there's so much going on and so much uncertainty. So if you think about how you might be feeling in your home, and you have a support system and a family and a bank account, and even though maybe things are challenging, there's still some stress and fear, right? But for them, they don't have those things, and they know that they're at risk health wise. I mean, they're vulnerable in that area to begin with because they're not able to take good care of themselves. So I'm definitely seeing that. Also, they're not sheltered, and their choices are to remain unsheltered or go into a shelter that's overcrowded, where there isn't social distancing. They have less control. So those are their options. And many of them are remaining unsheltered, and can't really blame them because they, you know, they're fearful. But in remaining unsheltered, they're not receiving things that they would normally receive. There's not as many places that are giving out food. No one's coming to outreach anymore, and because they're fearful. And also now there's things put in place where you're not allowed to, you know. So when I go late at night, I'm kind of I'm breaking some rules, but people need to eat. I mean, it's just the most basic thing, you know. So I am still doing it.
Yeah. And that's what people need right now. I know I've communicated with a couple of the homeless shelters in Detroit recently, and they have been saying that they need very basic things, you know, bottles of water, granola bars, things that they can go out and pass out. And I know that some shelters around the country too have shut down because of everything going on with coronavirus, because they're worried, you know, and they
Right.
can only handle so many people and they can only handle so many things. And so they're trying to figure out what the best way to handle all of this is. And so, like you said, a lot of people have no shelter because even some of the shelters that were in place before are not there, or they're have so many people that they're not able to provide the meals or things that they
Right.
had provided before. Things have just totally been turned upside down.
They really have. So that's why now when I'm posting, I'm always saying, listen, you know, $5 even is 5 sandwiches or 5 masks, you know, like even if you can't get out, or, you know, you can always have something delivered, you know, sent over to that shelter that's in need of those, you know, things that we take for granted, you know. you can still be doing something. So now's the time for the community to really, I mean, we need to all come together and just do something. Something does not have to be big.
Right. And you're home. Like, that's the thing. And I posted on One Girl Revolution earlier, and we're going to post more stuff throughout the day, including posting more about Project Kind and the great work that you're doing. But it's so easy. It's easier than ever before that people can go on Amazon. They can go to Shipt if they're ordering something anyways, every week, at least until we get through this, but maybe forever.
Yes.
Make it your mission, like your goal, that every time you go on to place an Amazon order, set up a couple of things to go to a local homeless shelter. Call them. If you don't want to call them or nobody's picking up the phone, you can message them on Facebook or Instagram. Most places use social media. I know that's the same for you with Project Kind. If people want to get involved, they want to support you, of course, they can donate on your website. But if they want to give something specifically, I'm sure they can write you on Instagram and say, hey, I'm placing an Amazon order. What can I order for the kindness closet or anything else, the outreach that you're doing? Because there's so many little things, bottles of water, granola bars, blankets. I know that you have a lot of things like that that are just basic things that people can donate.
Yeah. And we've also started to partner now with a lot of other outreaches so they can come and get things that are sent here to the kindness closet. And we're getting a lot more calls from people needing to assist with needed items at like senior citizen housing, you know, where the seniors can't get out, or, you know, meals aren't being sent over to them anymore. So they need food. So now we're even looking for non-perishable foods or things like that. So all these other outreaches can come and help serve those people. There's a lot of people who are homebound and not, or recently just started to face a real financial hardship. Maybe they've lost a job, or so the needs are definitely growing, but so are the opportunities for us to love each other.
Yeah, there's so many different ways that people can give. And like you said, there's so many forgotten about populations right now. And I understand that everybody is scared. Our world is scared. Everybody's kind of looking at their own family and their own lives and saying, okay, how are we going to survive this? How am I going to survive this? How is my family going to survive this? How are we going to get through this? But we can't forget about the people, the homeless. We can't forget about people in senior living facilities. There are so many people who are lonely and scared, and they're particular targets of this virus, you know, because they either don't have a home or they're in an enclosed space and there isn't a lot of place for them to go, and it's spreading faster there.
Right. And when we do deliver bagged meals or toiletries, or we also ask people to, you know, write like a kind message, you know, and it's such a great thing you can do with your kids. Like, it's such a great learning time for us with our families, and just teaching, you know, all those things that when I think of families, all those things you tell your kids, you know, you're supposed to love people and everybody's the same and all that. Now's the time to live out that truth, you know, put action to it.
Right.
And then when this is over and life goes back to like normal, keep doing it. Right. Like, I know sometimes when there's a crisis, it sparks something in us and we want to do something and make a difference. But then we get back to life and, you know, we kind of forget it. But I'm really hoping that after all of this, people maybe have faced some things and hardships. Well, I don't hope that they face a hardship, but if they have, it's almost like they've learned from it and they're able to maybe connect or understand others who are going through a hardship a little bit better, you know?
Yeah. Our world will never be the same. And I think all of us can agree on that. Every single person has had to deal with some hardship related to this pandemic. And some of us, that story is still being written. You know, some people are not sure what's going to happen with their jobs or their businesses or their lives in general or their families' lives. And I know a lot of people are suffering and struggling around the world, but it's now that we need to look for ways that we can give back in whatever little ways. Even if you don't have any money, there are ways that you can volunteer your time, or like you said, $5 can make such a difference, or getting your kids. There's so many children that are at home all over our country right now.
Yeah.
Imagine if every single family said, you know what, one day a month, we're going to sit down, we're just going to make cards for the elderly, or make little notes and send them to the homeless shelter that they can pass out to whomever.
Right.
Or let's make little packs with a bottle of water and hand sanitizer and granola bars that we can then deliver to the local food pantry, or mail them somewhere. You know, they could mail them to you guys, and
Right.
you could easily find a home for those bags. But there are so many things that families can do, and it doesn't cost that much money.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't have to cost any money.
Yeah. So
Somebody.
how can people support you? I know we talked about a couple of things there.
Yeah.
And then what would you say to people? How can people get involved in their own community wherever they
Yeah.
are in this world?
Okay, so well, let's start with that one. So I think that just like with my family, we sat down and figured out what, you know, what did we believe was truth and how did we want to live it out. I think you need to start with that. Like, what are you feeling led towards? What really pulls at your heartstrings, you know, that you wish you could make a difference? Because there's so many different areas you can be a part of, right? Whether it's someone experiencing homelessness or other in another way. So figure that out first. And then there's listen, there's so many nonprofits, or even if you just want to do something on your own, just be intentional about seeking out an opportunity, and it's going to come to you. It really is. But I think you need to really sit down and think, okay, what pulls at me? What is that thing that I notice? So for me, since I'm young, for whatever reason, somebody experiencing homelessness, it was just it was on my radar. Like I was aware of it, and it meant something to me. So that's where my journey led me. But maybe it's something else for somebody else, right?
Right.
So, but as far as getting involved with Project Kind, you know, you can go to the website, projectkind123.org, and you can donate that way. We're on Amazon Smiles if you want to have something shipped to us. And we have Venmo too. Well, that's like new for us, but I'm enjoying it. So Venmo, Project Kind. So monetary donations, we're always looking for corporate sponsorships. But then even, like I said, kind notes, you can ship them to us. If you live in the area, you can drop them off at the Kindness Closet. And, you know, different in-kind donations, toiletries, food.
It's all those little things. It's all those like basic things that we all need that are desperately needed right now for the homeless community. And, you know, we need to do everything that we can to make sure that they get it. So anything that people can send to you. And I want to encourage everybody to follow you on Instagram, because you're really showing people a firsthand look, front row seat of what's going on. And if that doesn't inspire you to do something and make a difference, I don't know what will, because every time I see anything that you're posting, Jenny, it really just touches my heart and moves my soul, and has encouraged me so much to share your work and your story, and also do so many things in my own life to make sure that we're taking care of those who are homeless at this time.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Kate.
I appreciate you. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to have you on. So before I let you go, Jenny, because I know you're a busy woman, you have a lot going on, I want to ask you, what is giving you hope right now? The world is such a dark and dreary place. People are going through so many difficult things. What's giving you hope?
So honestly, it's just faith. Like I know that there's already a plan in place. So I just have hope in that. And I try to get through my moment. So I really try to live my day moment by moment. So like, you know, challenging moments, in between moments, really great moments. So I try not to get stuck in a moment. Like I know another one's coming. So it's just about, you know, always looking forward and looking up for me, and like having faith that this has all been figured out already. And we just need to do our part. And I think that love is the answer with every single situation. So I'm just going to focus on that and just keep going.
Well, you're doing amazing work. And so again, I encourage everybody who is watching to follow you, Project Kind 123 on Instagram. I'll make sure to post more about you today on One Girl Revo, and everybody can listen to your podcast episode, which was amazing, which is number 49 on One Girl Revolution, which is on iTunes and Stitcher and SoundCloud. That will give you so much hope. You give me so much hope, Jenny. So thank you for all the great work that you're doing. Thank you for everybody who joined. And I hope that this encouraged everybody. I'm looking at all these comments. It's amazing. Thank you to everybody who joined. But Jenny, keep up the great work. And I hope we'll get to do something like this soon.
Yeah, we will, for sure. And lots of other stuff. Okay.
Lots of other things. So, all right.
Thank
Well, good luck tonight. And everybody's thinking of you. So keep up the great work.
Thank you. I'm sending everybody a ton of love and peace. Peace and love. Okay.
Thanks, Jenny.
All right, bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good day. Bye, everybody.